Welcome to Bay Area Art Beat. I'm Susan Duhan Felix, and I'm delighted to be at the ACCI Art Gallery at Chattanooga and Lincoln. It's a fabulous place, and I hope that people are going to be inspired to come and visit. We're going to hear a lot more about it in the next half hour. So first I want to introduce Anthony Turano, who is the new director, or not new, but recent. And Anthony, tell us something about you. What brought you here, and what did you do before you got here?
So I've been at ACCI Gallery as the director for 3 years now. Before this, and still now, I'm a painter and artist, and that's how I got interest in working in galleries. I'm a graduate of the University of California, Santa Cruz, and I graduated school and was looking for work in a gallery and found this place and saw a huge opportunity to help and grow the organization. So,
was this your first job out of college?
I had one job before this.
Oh, great.
This was my second job out of college.
Great.
Yeah.
So, what was the opportunity that you saw?
I just saw an organization that has huge potential in a space that has huge potential. I felt like I could come in here and do a lot of new exhibitions and try new things, and the board of directors were really receptive to my enthusiasm and sort of let me do almost whatever I wanted to do with the place as far as exhibitions and events and trying new things, and yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So tell us what you've done so far.
Well, the past 3 years have been a huge range of changes. I mean, there's been physical changes to the gallery. New walls have been built, walls have been taken down. We got new display cases for all of the jewelry. The wall situation sort of having more wall space allowed us to put more two-dimensional art up, like fine art, painting and printmaking and stuff like that, which was nice to give some focus in that realm. And then other than physical changes, sort of like structural changes, new exhibitions with new artists, and a juried show, internationally juried show. Yeah, and they've been really well received thus far, bringing in new artists who have never seen this space before. Yeah. And exposing sort of what we have to offer.
Yeah, I want you to tell me about some of the things upcoming, and you see more possibilities of national shows and international shows.
Absolutely, yeah. So our next, this past weekend we just finished up an oyster event. So it was an oyster pop-up with a local restaurant called Skates on the Bay. Oh, great. And it was in conjunction with an artist who wrote a book about oysters. Huh. So that's kind of what I mean by what I'm trying to do here is sort of be the connector between other local organizations and connect our artists and use this place as a venue to connect the two. Great. So an upcoming show we have is two artists that are members here at the gallery, Tony Natsulas from Sacramento and Sam Vaughn, who's a local Berkeley artist. Tony's a ceramicist and Sam is an illustrator. And they both make very sort of quirky, fun work. So it's going to be a really nice pairing. And that's in March.
Oh, that's coming up.
So that's our next show.
Yeah,
Right after that, we have a two-person painting show. Again, two members here at the gallery, Adriana Diaz and Zahava Shariz. Great. Those works are all inspired by poems.
Wonderful.
And then in May, we have a big event. It's going to be our 60th anniversary. So the 60th anniversary event will span a month. It's basically going to be sort of a historical dive into ACCI. So what we're doing is reaching out to founding members and you know, older ex-members, and we're going to be collecting their works and showing them all here. So it's like sort of a retrospective.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you have a date for that?
The first Friday of May. I'm not really sure what. I'm not sure the exact date.
Is that when you're planning the opening?
That's when the opening reception or the event will be, but the show itself will run for the whole month.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Great. With the show before that, with the art and the poetry,
yes.
Will there be some kind of poetry reading associated with it?
Yes.
Oh, great.
There's going to be a poetry reading and an artist talk,
Wonderful.
where the artists will be talking about their inspiration for each piece.
Yeah. Do you have a date for that?
I don't at the moment.
That's okay.
For the opening reception, I just know.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful.
For April. Yeah.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah.
Is there something more you want to tell us about in terms of upcoming shows?
Yeah, I mean, we have June. We have the Art of Insects, which is curated by a member here, David Garnick. He curates a lot of shows here. He's going to be reaching out to the science department of UC Berkeley for actual specimen.
Yeah.
And we're going to be showing that here in conjunction with artworks.
Is all this listed on your website?
It's not listed on the website. We usually publicize about a month before.
Okay.
So there's not really a calendar you can look at each one sort of in a row.
Okay, tell us the website so people
Sure, it's
can check.
ACCIgallery.com.
That's easy.
Yeah.
And so now, is it a relatively new website?
No, we've had the website probably 30 years or so.
Oh yeah,
I would say.
Okay. So is there anything more you want to tell us about?
Yeah, and then in July we have a food show. It's food and art. So we're going to be inviting, it's an open call for jewelers who focus in the subject matter of food. It's going to be a group show.
Great.
And yeah, that'll be another exhibition here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, you're right in the heart of the gourmet
right,
ghetto. I
exactly.
mean, you've got to take advantage of that.
Exactly.
And I think people love things that have food attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, our last event, the oyster event, was really well received. And like you said, we're in the gourmet ghetto, and it makes a lot of sense for us to be focusing on food because of the food history that's here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you very much. I do want to mention that my daughter is going to be reading here on February 13th from a book of poems, and I love the fact that you're putting the poetry and the art, and bringing more art together, bringing food into it. I think that this was one of the basic ideas of the co-op is the bringing together of different parts of the community, and I always felt with ACCI that it was a place where everybody could feel they belonged if they wanted to, and it's great. So thank you very, very much. Thank you for being the guest.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in a little while with another guest. So. Welcome back to Bay Area Art Beat. Our next guest is Teddy Simonowski.
Everybody has trouble with it.
Simonowski, who is a present board member at ACCI. ACCI is run by a board of directors. I don't know if I mentioned that, but so Teddy, tell us about life before ACCI and life during ACCI.
Well, actually, my first association with ACCI was when I was first employed as a teacher in Martinez in the mid-60s, and with my very first paycheck, I came to the gallery and I bought a hairpiece for my then very long hair. So I have a very long and fond memory of the gallery. And then another time I actually submitted some of my artwork and it was rejected. So my next association with the gallery was when my husband, who was a glassblower, was asked if he would be interested in joining the gallery, and he applied to the gallery, and he was a little reluctant because he didn't want to do the work hours that were associated with being a member. So you're a member, but you have to contribute to the operation of the gallery. So I volunteered to do his work hours, and one time when I was here doing my hours, somebody approached me and said, would you be interested in being on the board? And you know, one thing leads to another, and that's how I got to be on the board. A far stretch from my background, which is early childhood education, but a lot of it applies. I mean, it all has to do with organization and running places and pulling in resources and reorganizing things. And so a lot of the same things apply. So I did that for several years, and then I decided it was time to have a little rest. And then the gallery needed some new blood, so I came, or old blood as it were, so I came back again, and I've been doing it now for probably approaching another 6 years.
Oh, great. It's always so wonderful to get somebody who's willing to serve on the board and feel they have the time and energy to do that.
Well, one of the great things about this organization is that we live on the talents and the interests and the dedication of the people who are willing to do the work at the gallery.
Yeah.
And it's always, you know, somebody has a finance background, somebody can do display, somebody knows how to do publicity, somebody else knows how to contact people in the community and bring things together. So that's what's fun about it, is that it's really utilizing everybody's talents and interest.
Yeah. It's wonderful to see that organizations still can be run by a group of volunteers, and I mean with some staff, of course, but it's great. And it looks beautiful. I mean, the place is done really well. So Anthony told us essentially about the 3 years since he's been here. Has your time overlapped with his?
Yes, yeah, all of it, yeah.
But you were involved before. So what are the differences that you see, or what would you like to tell us about what we should know about ACCI?
Well, one of the things that always makes me feel warm and good about the gallery is how resilient it is. And I know that's kind of a pop word these days, but the miracle of this gallery is that it's been here for 60 years with ups and downs and through thick and thin and changes in organization and restructuring and committing ourselves to different kinds of ways of presenting ourselves. And that's what makes it interesting, and I think that's what makes it a contribution to the community.
Yeah.
There was a time, for example, when we only had fine art, and we love fine art, but it wasn't making enough money for the gallery to stay in business, so to speak. So then we expanded to crafts, and we have a very structured way of bringing people into the gallery. Everybody is juried in, and our standards for jurying are, I think, rather good. You know, we look for things that are novel and well crafted and a little bit different, and people who are interested in contributing to the gallery more than just their artwork. And that's what is the life of the gallery, is the variety of people and things that are always happening. Yeah. And I was just walking around today, and one time we were considering changing the cement floor because, you know, it shows its age. It has character, but it shows its age. But it was also causing trip hazards. But we didn't have enough money to put in a new floor. So one of our members did all these mosaic things on the floor. Yeah. I mean, that's just an example of the resourcevulness of what keeps us going.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I came to Berkeley in '67, and the ACCI, what was then called the Art Co-op, was having a sale at the parking lot at
the old co-op,
old co-op, and actually they had a little gallery upstairs, But I love the idea of it. And then I put the class program together here and taught ceramics for several years. And I just felt really good about the kind of place that it was. We actually, from the beginning, had fine arts and what they call fine arts, which I object to. But anyway, fine arts and crafts.
Craft, yeah.
And I notice in my work that I've come together to do what's fine arts and crafts. But everything is working really well together here. So thank you for your input. Is there anything else that you'd like to?
Well, just that it's always interesting to us who comes into this gallery, because there are people who come in and say, oh, I've been coming here forever. And there are people who say, I just walked by and I noticed it and I came in. And there are other people who come in, they've walked by 100 times and they've never come in except that one time.
Yeah.
And so we're always looking for people to enjoy what we enjoy, and it's a great place, and it's looking is allowed, and if you find something that you love, that's even better.
Yeah, yeah. And will your husband have something in the 60-year exhibition?
Well, he's still an exhibiting artist here now, but he certainly will, because he's been around for about 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, great, great, great. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us, and I'm sure I'll see you around here.
Yep, and I think it's wonderful that you do this to promote the arts.
It's very important.
In the Bay Area.
Yeah, we have great things happening in the city, and everybody should know about it. And I'm going to ask everybody at ACCI to send this out and let people know about it, and hopefully more and more people will be here. I mean, I've been here when there've been a lot of people, and every time I come myself, I'm amazed at the beautiful things I see. And as far as I'm concerned, I think that things are very reasonably priced. I mean, there's a range, but anybody can get anything they like.
Yeah, and we aim for that range.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll be back in a few minutes with our next guest, and I'm going to just check. Welcome back to Bay Area Art Beat. The last guest I'm going to interview is Kurt McCarthy, and Kurt was my face of what I thought the face of ACCI. When did we work together? 15 years ago? Or?
Yeah, so at least I know 10 for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So Anthony told us about what's happening now in the future, and Teddy told us about her memories of the last, really the present, going back 10 years or so. And you're going to fill us in on the rest of the past, right?
I'm not sure about that,
Yeah.
but I don't think you mentioned that, as far as I can figure out, we're the oldest arts and crafts cooperative west of the Mississippi.
That's what I've always heard, and I'm sure it's true. And I mean, not only that, this is the oldest existing art gallery in the city of Berkeley. And I must say that if the co-op didn't own this building, it probably would not be here.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm very happy that, very happy to see the co-op continuing, and the ideals that it started with. I mean, I was here in the early days to just see these things being carried forth. It's wonderful. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I went to art school in San Jose State University, got a degree in art, and I went on to graduate school at different subjects, and I've off and on, I've done arts in various things, crafts, and I joined about 30 years ago, and I actually wasn't very involved in it for several years.
Yeah.
And then you might know the name Linda Mayo. She said to me one day, when in her more assertive presence that I paid attention to immediately, she asked me, "Aren't you a member of ACCI?" And I had to confess to her that I was. And she said, "Do you realize that the city is going to close you down if you don't retrofit the building?" And I said, "I guess so." And she proceeded to say that she would help us in some capacity with the earthquake retrofit, which was a big deal because
very important.
it was there was so danger to the people working and the members and so on.
Yeah. I must say that we've had a very supportive city council in terms of the arts. They see how important the arts are to the city, and they've been helpful, and certainly Linda has.
Yeah.
So you were involved with the whole retrofitting.
Yes, I was one of the persons that
somebody has to make it happen.
Yeah, and there was Sarah Hunter, I believe is her name. She was the go-getter, and I just pointed, and she got things done, and I helped with the connections that were necessary in terms of banking and other things, and other members helped too.
Yeah, yeah. You were in. Do you want to talk about your involvement with the Berkeley Cultural Trust? Were you involved with the Berkeley Cultural Trust?
Well, the cultural plan 10 years ago, yes.
Yeah, yeah. But was that done by the trust? I'm trying to remember.
Actually, I don't remember exactly myself.
Yeah, but I think that's when I first met you about 10 years ago, working on that.
Yeah.
It's stuff for the city is definitely
challenging
and ongoing. But I must say that things have improved a great deal. When I was on the Art Commission in the 70s, and the arts were in Health and Human Services. And we had to argue for money, like, should this money go for AIDS or should it go for arts, And one of the things we really did was get it out of Health and Human Services and put it into economic development. And when the city sees it as having to do with economic development, it has a whole different meaning. You're bringing something and you're adding rather than taking from somebody else. And yes, so tell me more.
Well, I just started paying attention because we had identified during the time of the cultural plan 10 years ago that there was something like $250 million that was coming through the arts, all the arts organizations in the city.
Right.
And that's a pretty big chunk of change.
Yeah, yeah.
And what I noticed and what I tried to get involved with is identifying all the arts organizations and putting them on the map and having a calendar of sorts.
Yeah.
And it's
You're still hoping for
always,
that?
Yeah, I'm still hoping for that because just bringing people, there are lots of citizens that I know that don't know what's going on in Berkeley, and it's I took part in a series of talks at the library 10 years ago with Chuck Wellenberg, and the amount of art in Berkeley is amazing. It's spectacular. It just blows my mind.
I have to say that Berkeley Times and Berkeley Side do a good job kind of listing
things
happening in Berkeley.
Yeah, that's great.
And if you check particularly Berkeley Times, they have a special for the arts. There is a way for people to find out.
Yeah, how wonderful.
And at one time, there was Bonnie Hughes was trying to do an overall calendar of what's happening. And that would be nice, but with a little effort, unfortunately, it takes a little effort. You can find. I would check both Berkeley Times and Berkeley Side. And actually, Brian was thinking.
Visit Berkeley has started doing a really good job of putting the word out, which is really nice.
last month we put in, Brian assembled things looking at both those places, things going on and putting them on our program. And I don't think I don't think we have the time and space to do everything going on, but you know, it is possible to keep track of some of it. And there is an awful lot. There's an awful lot.
Well, we really try to engage the community.
Yes.
And that's part of our mission statement.
Yeah.
And while thinking of the mission statement, I think it's pretty interesting. It's posted on the wall of, in the front gallery, and towards the end of it, it talks about supporting this new venture during the age of automation. And this is in '59.
Yeah.
So it was all, things were starting to be imported and not handmade or, you know, manufactured, and there was a response to fine crafts.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it is amazing when you think that we've gone through the age of automation, digitalization, all that stuff, and this is still beautiful. I mean, the fact that this is beautiful no longer changes. So I love to end this program with some kind of, I've been trying to end it with a poem, but I think any kind of literary quote. And one of the things I'd like to put out there is that if people have a suggestion of something that has to do with the arts, send it to us and we'll think about having it at the end of a program in the future. In the meantime, you have something you'd like to read us. Go to it.
Oh, this is something, this is actually on our website about the history of the gallery. Basically, my speech 10 years ago at our 50th. And it's a quote by Studs Terkel about a famous scientist. Quote, Einstein once observed that Westerners have a feeling of the individual, the individual loses his freedom if he joins, say, a union or a group. Precisely is the opposite the case. The individual discovers his strength as an individual because he has along the way discovered that others share his feelings. He is not alone, and thus a community is formed. You might call it a prescient community or the Prothic community. It has always been there.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Turco, and thank you, Kirk. And this is a great community. Be sure to check out the 60th anniversary exhibit. The opening reception will be the first Friday in May. We'll tell you more about that. And come by, stop by. You'll be happy with what you see. And thank you again, Anthony, Teddy, Kirk. And I want more people to know about this place and come and enjoy it. And I'd love to see you doing